The ground moved because the generic got accessible. Overnight, the average version of what a lot of us do became something a machine could hand out for free or for next to nothing. And if your value could be perceived as replaceable by that machine, if what you sold lived in the parts that anyone or anything could copy, then the ground moved under you too. It moved under all of us. But here's what that leaves standing. When the generic gets commoditized, the only thing left with any value at all is the thing that cannot be copied. Your judgment, your genius, the particular way you see things, your unmistakable voice, the exact part of you I have spent my whole career telling you was your greatest asset. The market just made it your only one. It was always safer to be you, to be yourself, than to be like anyone else. It's just that safer quietly became the whole game. I'm Finola Howard, intuitive marketer, your host, and founder of How Great Marketing Works. I believe that every business has a story to tell because that's how the market decides whether to buy or not. Your story has to resonate with who you are and with the people you want to serve. And this podcast is about helping you reach the market in a way that feels right to you. So if you're an entrepreneur with a dream you want to make real, then this is the podcast for you because great marketing is your truth shared. I've been away 5 weeks, 4,500 glorious kilometres, a camper van, my other half, my 17-year-old son, and a slow meandering crawl across France, Switzerland and Italy. And of course, a ridiculous little detour through Monaco, because why not? And I still worked 2 hours a week. Every week I was gone, I sat down, wherever I was, an Alpine car park, a campsite in Carcassonne, and I went live for 90 minutes to a room full of people, delivering a programme I'd built before I left. 2 hours a week, that's all it took, because I'd built it to hold without me standing over it. Hold on to that, because that's the whole episode. The business held without me standing over it. And I need to tell you what it cost to build it that way and what it made possible on the other side, because that's the real story and it's better than a postcard. Just to be clear, I didn't go away to think, and I want to be really honest with you about that. It wasn't to go away and think about stuff. I went away to stop thinking about stuff, to just stop. But somewhere between an Alpine pass and the best cappuccino I've ever had in my life, my head cleared. In a way it never ever does at my desk. And half of what I've been carrying around is urgent, that whole pile that I've been dragging around with me for months, it had quietly sorted itself without me even touching it. Well, maybe a little. And the two things that actually mattered came up out of the noise, clear as anything. One, the pivot I'd made this year was right. Lean further in, don't retreat. Two, I can actually help people more deeply now than I ever could before the ground moved. And I built, not head down, not grinding building, beautifully meandering building. On my phone, in Claude, in a car park somewhere, a thought would land that would touch one offer. So I'd dial straight into that project and I'd follow it. And when the thought moved on, I'd move into it, into the next one. A sales page here, a piece of architecture there, wandering between them as the ideas wandered. Beautifully enjoyable and exciting. And I could only do that because of how I've built out my projects and how I organize stuff in my business. Everything is so clear, it's easy to walk into and back out of. Most people actually can't. You'd be surprised how many business owners have ideas scattered all over their laptops. A brilliant thought had once dropped into a note somewhere, a document somewhere, and gone for good the moment they close the lid. I've a fix for that too, but that's a conversation for another day. None of it was because I was pushing. because the next level always, always becomes clear the moment I finally have the room to see it. It would be like that for you too. And that's when I understood what the whole year had actually been. Let me take you back a few months, okay? Because you need the before to feel the after. Earlier this year, the ground moved under my business. Something shifted in the marketplace really fast and not gently. And it put a question mark over the thing I'd built my whole working life on. I'm not going to unpick the whole of it here. That's a longer conversation that I'll have with you another day. But I'll tell you the shape of it. I looked up one morning and the thing I was certain of had gone uncertain. And I did not have the luxury of stepping back to think about it beautifully. I was launching. I was mid-flight on other things, and I had to move fast to build the answer. So I burned the candle at both ends. That's what you do. I'll be really straight with you because I'm not going to sell you a serene version of the thing that wasn't serene. I built a whole new program in the fire. I sold it while I was exhausted, and then I delivered it live every single week from the road. Those 2 hours I mentioned. That was me in a camper van going live, delivering the thing I'd built out of the hardest stretch I've had in years. And somebody asked me only this morning while I was swimming, knowing all that, what would you do differently, Finola? You know, looking for the insight that I would have had about this experience. And I said, nothing. Not one thing. I wouldn't do anything differently. And I want you to hear why, because it's the whole point of today. Here's the thing I could not see while I was in the fire. And it's the thing I finally saw 5 weeks and 4 countries later. You can't see the shape of the thing while you're inside it. It's not a discipline problem. It's not a focus problem. And it's not a you problem. It's actually geometry. Think about it properly. Hold your hand up just an inch from your face. It blocks out the entire room. It blocks out a whole mountain if there's one behind it. Now, that hand is not big, it's just close. And that's exactly what proximity does. It doesn't just blur things, it lies to you about their size. The thing an inch from your eye looks enormous, the mountain behind it disappears. That's actually your to-do list, that's your inbox, that's the fire that's felt on a Tuesday morning, like it might end everything. None of it is actually as big as it looks. It's just close. And when you're standing that close all day, every day for months, you lose the one thing that tells you the difference between what's genuinely big and what's merely near. You lose proportion. Everything looms. And a business run on things that loom is a business run on the wrong priorities, dressed up as urgency. Distance is the only thing that restores proportion. You step back, the hand shrinks to the size of a hand, and the mountain actually comes back into view. That's not rest, that's sight. And here's the part nobody says out loud. You never step back. You never leave. You're in it every day, nose against the glass. And the strategic work, the working on it instead of in it, gets pushed to, I'll get to that when things calm down a bit, which is never. So the fog never lifts. Not because you're not clever enough to see through it, because you have never once been far enough away to see it straight. I have sat with hundreds of entrepreneurs at exactly this point. Brilliant women, brilliant men, brilliant organizations, talented, credentialed, adored by their clients, and every single one says a version of the same sentence. I know I'm capable of more. I just can't quite see how it all fits together. And they think the answer is another course, another framework, one more tactic. It actually isn't. You already know quite enough. You are drowning in enough. What you don't have is distance. You've never been high enough up to see the whole of it at once. It's perspective. And here's the trap inside the trap. The reason you can't step back is the exact same reason that the business runs you instead of the other way around. Everything flows through you, so you can't leave. And if you can't leave, you can't get distance. And if you can't get distance, you can't see the whole. So you can never build the thing that would finally let it run without you. Round and round and round. You are, at the same time, the single point of failure and the single point of vision. both. Because you can't see the whole, you can't tell which parts could safely leave your hands. So you keep them all, which keeps you in the bottleneck and which keeps you too close to see. And this is why, if you've ever tried to build the systems in your business, try to put the pieces in place and they never quite connected into one thing that works, this is why. You built each piece from the inside at the ground level. And a system isn't a pile of pieces. A system is a shape. And you cannot assemble a shape from inside it. You are never standing high enough to see how the parts were meant to connect. That's not a competence gap. That's an altitude gap. Not a personal failing, a structure. And a structure can be changed without you changing one single thing about who you are. So now the reframe that changed how I run everything. Hear it as strategy, and it's important, not as self-care. Because the difference between those two words is the difference between a business that frees you and a business that quietly eats you. Here it is. Rest is not the reward you get at the end of the work. Rest is the instrument that does the work you cannot do from the inside. And let me tell you why we get this so wrong. Somewhere along the way, rest got filed under wellness, under self-care, branded as the thing you do to recover from work. A bit of maintenance for the machine, and you're the machine. So you can get back there faster. And the moment rest is recovery from the work, it becomes subordinate to it. The servant, negotiable. The first thing cut, the second things get busy. Of course it is. You'd cut the servant before the master every time. But that's the lie. Because the room to think isn't recovery from your strategy. The room to think is where your strategy actually happens. It's not the pit stop, it's a lap. The highest leverage decision you'll make this quarter will not be made at your desk with your nose on the glass or to the grindstone. It'll be made on a walk, in the shower, in a swim, on a drive, in the water. And watch the cruelty of how it's wired. The busier you get, the more you need the altitude and the less you take it. The need and the availability move in opposite directions. Precisely when you most need to step back and see the whole, you are actually most buried inside it. And that's not weakness. That's the design working as designed, which is exactly why you have to build the room in, because left to chance, the busyness eats it every single time. And I'll say the quiet part once, then leave it underneath for you. There's a reason this is physical and not just poetic. You cannot see clearly in a flooded state. When your nervous system is in the red, your field of vision literally narrows. And that's what stress is for. It's built to make you fix on the tiger and ignore everything else. Brilliant for the tiger, catastrophic for strategy, which needs the wide view. So the rest I'm talking about isn't collapse. It isn't doing nothing. It's the thing that widens the lens again, not lying down, climbing up. And I can hear some of you. That's lovely, Finola. But my business genuinely cannot run without me. I cannot afford to step back. Stop now. Listen to what you just said. Listen to it again. My business cannot run without me. That's not your reason for staying inside it. That's the diagnosis. You just handed me the exact problem and offered it as if it were the exception. The thing you're naming as the reason you can't step back is the single most important thing in the whole business to fix. It's the bottleneck describing itself and calling it loyalty or ego or both. I cannot tell you how many times I've had this conversation. So you're not alone in thinking like this, but we can fix it. A business that cannot run without you isn't a business yet. It's a very demanding job. You invent it. That you can't quit and that some months don't actually pay you. And I say that with love because I invented one too. And I lived in it for years before I saw it for what it was. And even then I had people working for me and it still pushed me where I shouldn't have been going. The goal was never to work harder inside the cage, because a business like this is a cage. The goal is always to build a door so you can walk out whenever you need to and pull it shut behind you, knowing everything inside is safe without you. So, back to the fire and to why I'd change nothing. When I finally got the room, the road, the 5 weeks, the distance, here's what I saw about the thing that frightened me earlier this year. And it's the truest thing I'll say to you today. The ground moved because the generic got accessible. Overnight, the average version of what a lot of us do became something a machine could hand out for free or for next to nothing. And if your value could be perceived as replaceable by that machine, if what you sold lived in the parts that anyone or anything could copy, then the ground moved under you too. It moved under all of us. But here's what that leaves standing. When the generic gets commoditized, the only thing left with any value at all is the thing that cannot be copied. Your judgment, your genius, the particular way you see things, your unmistakable voice, the exact part of you I have spent my whole career telling you was your greatest asset. The market just made it your only one. It was always safer to be you, to be yourself, than to be like anyone else. It's just that safer quietly became the whole game. So the crisis didn't actually threaten my work. It proved my work. It took the thing I'd believed for 30 years and made it undeniable. And it made me build deeper than I've ever built, because being right in theory wasn't enough anymore. I had to put the tools in your hands. Now, I'll be clear because this matters. I built more than one tool this year. It was just too exciting to resist. The fire pushed me to build deeper than I ever have, but there's one I want to put in your hands today, because it's the most direct answer I have to that question that I was asked this year. In the middle of all of it, I built something small and deep that I could not have built before the fire. It's called your unmistakable brand voice. It does the exact opposite of the thing everyone fears AI will do to them. It doesn't flatten you into everyone else. It sharpens the part of you that no machine and no competitor can replicate. It's €27, and it's the most direct answer I have to the question this whole year asked. If any part of what I've said today landed, start there. I'll put the link wherever you're listening. Just click below. Now, the good news. It's better than you think. I don't want you to hear this and decide you need 5 weeks in 4 countries to get your own head straight, although it does help. You don't. But it was never really about the distance. It was about the disconnection, being unrooted to, unreachable, for long enough that the loop goes quiet and the wide view comes back. I'm in the sea most mornings, deliberately. Cold water, no phone, nobody can reach me. And for those few minutes, there's not one single thing that runs through me. That's altitude, the smallest possible unit of the exact thing I found across 4 countries. Found at the end of my road before 9 o'clock for free. An hour with your phone in another room is altitude. A walk with nothing in your ears, no podcast, not even this one, is altitude. The point is not how far you go. The point is that for a defined stretch, nothing roots through you, and your system finally gets to lift its eyes and see the shape of the thing. That's the whole game. Stop being the thing everyone depends on and everything depends on, long enough to get high enough to see the whole, so you can build the thing that means it no longer depends on you. That's not rest as a treat, that's rest as architecture. So here's your bite for this week. Small on purpose, because small is buildable and grand gestures aren't. Pick the one decision you keep circling, you know the one, step back from it, properly. Not a scroll, not, let me think about it a while, I answer these emails. Get your nose off the glass. A walk, a drive, the water, an afternoon with the phone in the actual other room. Give the thing enough distance that it can shrink back to its real size. And then look again. The answer was never hiding, we're just standing too close to it. And if this was the conversation you needed today, do two things. Subscribe to Your Truth Shared, wherever you're listening. This is where I connect the pieces, one part of the truth behind success at a time. And go get your unmistakable brand voice. €27. It's the tool I built in the hardest part of this year for exactly this moment. The moment the generic got accessible and the only thing worth anything became the part that's unmistakably you. The link's right here with this episode. I'll have more for you soon. There's a bigger piece of this coming that I'm genuinely excited about, but that's for another day. For now, just take the room, even a little of it. Your business will still be there when you get back, and that's rather the point.